comfortable in front of you than I am in front of the others.
Here, come stand right here so these guys can hear you.
Because I can't see over there. And Whitney and Pierce, actually, I worked with them years ago when they were youth, so I'll just look at them and then I'll feel right at home. Many years ago, not many, a few years ago, I was experiencing a really difficult thing going on in my family with my parents and my siblings. It was probably one of the most difficult times of my life, and it wasn't short-lived. It lasted a while. And I really just wanted to escape the whole thing. In fact, to use a well-known title, it was a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad year. And I wanted to move to Australia. But I couldn't move to Australia because I was teaching seminary. And at the time I thought, how do I teach seminary while this is going on over here? I don't know if any of you have experienced that or are experiencing that. While I was teaching a seminary, I observed many of my co-teachers, other teachers experiencing very difficult things going on in their life. Things like they're still raising their young children, or working and going to school and teaching seminary, or caring for an elderly parent, or having their lives turned upside down by an adult child that was making poor decisions, their own personal health issues. Everybody seemed to have something going on while they're trying to keep up with the very demanding calling of being a seminary teacher. And I thought, how do we do this? How do we balance this? How do we keep pressing forward in our calling with these other things going on in our lives? What I learned by going through it myself and watching my fellow teachers and friends is that we learned very quickly to rely on the Savior, probably more than we had previously in our life, to look to him, to depend on him, and to need him to help get us through all the things going on in our life and juggle all the demands on our time. One of my favorite passages in scripture is in Nephi 25. In that chapter, Nephi's wrapping up his own personal history, and he's sharing prophecies of things to come, and he's about to teach the whole doctrine of Christ. And in chapter 5, he says, I say unto you, that as these things are true, and as the Lord God liveth, there is none other name given under heaven, save it be this Jesus Christ, of which I have spoken, whereby man can be saved. And I felt like that during that time, that Jesus saved me, not just from my sins, but saved me and buoyed me up and helped me get through a very difficult time. So that is what I learned, that we can do really hard things as seminary teachers. And I have such a love and admiration for all the people I know who have been seminary teachers, the ones that I taught with and the ones that I watch now, the ones who taught me. Seminary teachers are amazing people. Nephi continues by testifying of what a great benefit it is to have this testimony of Jesus Christ and what he can do for us. And I'm going to quote a little more of chapter 25, but I'm going to edit it just a little bit so it applies to us as teachers. He says, for we labor diligently to write, to persuade our children and also our students to believe in Christ and to be reconciled to God. For we know that it is by grace that we are saved after all we can do. And we talk of Christ, we rejoice in Christ, we preach of Christ, and we prophesy of Christ, and we write according to our prophecies that our students may know to what source they may look for remission of their sins. And I'm adding where they can find strength and comfort as they go through the trials of life. So this really is the purpose of seminary, as stated in the Gospel Learning and Teaching handbook that we've had in years past, that the atonement of Jesus Christ is central to the plan of salvation and should be at the heart of all gospel teaching and learning. This is what I learned when I taught. And this is what I felt was most important, that through my testimony of the Savior, I could teach the students that came into my classroom. and teach them every day the doctrines of Jesus Christ. It's my hope and prayer that every single lesson we teach, every time we address the students in our seminary classes, they know where Christ is in that lesson and how he can love and support and enable them. And I share that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
So much. Sometimes when we're at the administrative level of this whole thing, we forget that you all have a daily, like you have lives. And that is, and sometimes you forget that your fellow colleague teachers are also going through things. So thank you for helping us remember we're all called to do this work, and life does not get easier simply because we are choosing to help the work along. But that's why we need a savior. So thank you for that reminder. Appreciate it. Now, before we do the WISE tutorial, I gave you back the thing. So I'm guessing I'm going out of order. Before we do this, I wanted to do a really quick follow-up to the video that I sent out. So I want to just double check. If you are new and you just have not seen this yet, I'm sorry. I will get you a copy. I'll get you links to this. But I just wanted to let you ask any questions you may have about the pacing calendar that I had sent out, the pacing guide. Okay. I did a whole video on it. If you're new, find yourself getting to my YouTube channel. The video's posted there. It'll kind of walk you through it. But as far as getting the link, we'll probably have to resend the link just because we've had, I don't know, half a dozen new teachers added just in the last week or so. I just want to allow you to ask any questions you might have regarding the pacing calendar, clarification, concerns, whatever it is, whatever your question is probably going to help somebody in the room. So I figure this is probably something we need to counsel about for about 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, issues? Do you hate it? Go, you hated it.
I don't understand why we need a pacing guide now when Come Follow Me was supposed to follow those weeks. And how in our last in person, you brought up that each week there is an overview of the class, like the topics that week.
Yep.
Lesson.
Yep.
And we're supposed to prayerfully decide which ones we're supposed to do in
Yep.
addition to the 2 doctrinal masteries that there that week. So just don't get overwhelmed if you're new and you see your pacing guide, you don't have to follow that.
This pacing guide is actually exactly what you'll find on the website. I just put it all in one spot so that you can hit the hyperlinks and it'll take you places. But what you said is true. Does anybody want to argue with her? Because that was absolutely true. For those of you who are on Zoom, what she said is we're aligned with Come Follow Me. There is going to be, at least in the first month, some non-alignment with Come Follow Me, simply because there are things that we need to talk about as you start off your seminary class. If you notice, all these introductory lessons, studying the scriptures, learning by the Spirit, learning by faith in Jesus Christ, an introduction to doctrinal mastery. There is no plan of salvation lesson. That's just generally doctrine of the plan of salvation. There's 3 acquiring spiritual knowledge lessons. Those are required. Those are nowhere to be found in Come Follow Me. So, yes, but at the same time, you're going to have to actually remove Come Follow Me lessons and put in those acquiring spiritual knowledge lessons and replace them. Yes, ma'am, and then yes, ma'am.
So, not to argue with her, but I'm a little bit old school.
Okay.
And I'm a very visual learner.
Okay.
So this on my computer, but I also print it out. So that way, like sometimes, if you're going on a vacation or if you're kind of like, what's the next couple weeks ahead? I don't have to sit and keep going to different hyperlinks. I can kind of look, have a visual cue, and then I take my arrows and like, whatever.
Whatever you want to do.
Print it with another class, and sometimes
Yep.
we do an activity, and then it fits better with something else. But for me, you're right. Like we don't have to necessarily follow it, but it's just a visual guideline. That
Yeah. If you
feel overwhelmed.
If you are following Come Follow Me, you're following this pacing calendar. Because that's exactly, I just put it right in order with the thing. Problem is some of y'all are only teaching 4 days. So this is going to let you look at it and go, here are the 5 lessons. I have 4 days. Which one am I not going to teach? Which one am I going to teach? Am I going to use just this principle? This just I'm a big picture kind of guy. I like to see the macro so I can make the micro decisions, right? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Not a big deal, but I feel good about the work you did put this together.
Please stroke my ego.
Yeah. But down, it's actually really helpful when you're teaching with a team teacher, because then you have a framework that you can go, okay, I got these days, you got those days, and then it's been laid out, so you don't have to talk about this.
Right.
And
Right.
that's actually.
And may I add,
I do whatever I want.
right. Yeah, and may I add, for those of you who know you're going to be missing days and you've got subs that you got planned, you can just look at the calendar and immediately just, you click on the hyperlink, or you can actually copy that hyperlink and send it immediately in a text, and they've got the lesson. Like, they don't have to go looking for anything, okay? Yep. Okay.
One day,
Mhm.
the doctrine and the application. Give them both a day.
So how do you feel about that? Let me say this. Give them enough time.
And if we actually start on time, like I.
Right.
Do 2 full days. A lot of.
Right. So I'll just say this then, to give you the inspiration that you are entitled to as teachers, set apart teachers, make sure you give them enough time. If you take the entire time and you only do the material for the first one, but you plan on doing both, that means you bump whatever tomorrow is completely off your schedule and you replace it, because you have to give them time. I don't know. Have you ever had the experience yet with the second canoe teachers? Let me just show you really quickly. If I scroll down, you can see there, the yellow boxes are the 2 doctrinal mastery lessons. Those are things we must not schedule off. This is the new focus for seminary. This is the first lesson is doctrinal learning. The second lesson is the practical application, scenario driven. It's situational. It's how you get the lofty doctrine teaching, and it's where the rubber hits the road. It is the direction seminary is going. Okay. I don't know if you've had that experience yet, where you start off that second lesson and you don't even really get to the full scenario, and the kids are already asking questions about, so how does this apply with this? And your lesson just happens because they're asking questions, and you're working through their scenarios, and it's almost as if it's relevant to them. I've often taught that second lesson without touching a single thing that I prepared, because you present the doctrine, you start getting into relevancy, and they immediately latch onto it. So yes, if you feel like you've covered the doctrine in the first one and you're ready to start scenarios and you feel like you gave it time and they're feeling the relevance, sure. But be ready to move if for whatever reason things get extended.
Okay, so the first doctrinal mastery is your body's a temple, so now that's you for strength of youth, Daniel.
Right.
Tattooing, all those type of things.
So
I heard
1 Corinthians 6 is going to be the doctrine, right? You're going to talk about what Paul taught about the sacredness of our bodies. That second one, 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20, that's going to be where For the Strength of Youth guidebook comes in. That's the principles of our bodies are sacred and how that applies and how we approach it. How do we act in faith? How do we have a divinely appointed, eternal perspective, and where do we go for divinely appointed sources? That's kind of where that comes into play. If you feel like it kind of goes together and you do it in a day, I'm happy for you. Don't rush doctrinal mastery. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. Other questions about the pacing guide? Please. Yes. So I would say you need to do those before you get to 1 Corinthians 6. There's 3 of them. Part 1, 2, and 3. I know. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, are you watching the chat? Okay. Keep asking your questions in the chat, Zoom people. I'm sorry if I ignore you. The question is, when do we do the acquiring spiritual knowledge lessons? Yeah, those may be your introductory lessons to seminary. But there's 3 of them. Try to do those, because the principles that are found in acquiring spiritual knowledge, part 1, 2, and 3, because the first one's going to be all about act and faith. The next one's examining concepts with an eternal perspective. And then the third one is understanding through divinely appointed sources. That's literally what they're going to do in 1 Corinthians 6. So if you feel like you can be teaching those principles at the same time as doing 1 Corinthians 6, please do so. We are kind of asking you to do a hard thing. I understand. But that's what happens when we're a worldwide church and they want us to just be 100% aligned with Come Follow Me on a calendar year, not an academic year. Yeah, it's the nature of the beast. So I'm sorry. So if you are starting, at least get to the first acquiring spiritual knowledge, and you can even show them, hey, for example, this is what we're going to do. Here's 1 Corinthians 6. But make sure the next week you do the part 2. Make sure you just do them. Typically, if this was part of a curriculum we're following, you would have them by week. You do first week, you do 1, second week, and the third week. But do whatever you can to fit these in, okay? Remember when I said coverage is a dirty word? And we are not supposed to cover material. The only time I need you to cover material is doctrinal mastery. Okay? Are we good? All right. If you have questions like, how do I do this? Please reach out to me, and I'm a good sounding board. I won't tell you what to do or how to do it, but I'll give you some ideas. Okay. All right. Any other questions about thing? Okay. We're going to move now to this beautiful tutorial that has been created for your viewing pleasure by Sister Naring. Everybody enjoys a good PowerPoint. Now, while we do this, this is where you actually log into Wise2. What do you mean it's not working? It's Alma 3738, 3637.
No, 37, 38.
Go to Leahona. What's not working for you? You got to change the semester date. Are you sure? I don't know. Is that part of the tutorial? If they're seeing last year's?
Well, we'd have to get on a different,
Here, I'll walk around and see if I can see what they're doing. I'm going to turn the time over to Sister Mary.
Okay, while he's going around helping everybody, if you need to move on to the next semester. Also, if you log on and the bar at the top of Wise, can everybody hear me? If the bar at the top of Wise is burgundy, that means that you have to kind of go down that left-hand column and put in the coordinator and the blah, 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 and this and that. It only gives you one choice. So I don't know why they make you do it in the first place, but until you want to make sure that the top, the bar is green at the top of your screen. So if it's still burgundy, you're going to go and click on pick your area, pick your region, pick your coordinator, pick your state, and you'll just go down that list and click on each one of those and put in, and it only gives you one choice. So just pick whatever comes up. And until that top refreshes and it becomes green. Anybody still burgundy at the top that is needing help with what I'm talking about? Okay, while we're working on that real quick, a couple of housekeeping things.
I know some of you have already heard this spiel before, but we've got new teachers, so I'm gonna run it through real quick again. There are no printed manuals. The church does not produce them anymore. We do not purchase them anymore. They are far too expensive, and the new manuals are meant to be a living document. That means they are changing constantly. So the minute we print it out, it's completely outdated, and so we're not gonna do it anymore. You can feel free to print out lessons individually at a time if you want. You can cut and paste them, move things around, however you want to do it. That's totally good for you. But we won't be printing them out as a paper manual anymore. Also, I do have a couple of journals, probably like 100, but we're not going to be purchasing new journals because the place that we buy them from isn't going to update them for the next couple of years.
You have to stand behind this.
I'm so sorry. Hi. Well, let me tilt this down a little bit.
I
There we
bet-
go.
Pick it up. I'm gonna take the podium off.
Oh, okay.
So you can see over it because you're short.
There we go. How's
If you
that?
have
Much better?
questions, just trying to log in, raise your hand. I'm gonna come around.
Okay. So, if you want journals, I have a couple of them, but they have not been updated to the new doctrinal mastery core document. They still have the old one in it. So if you just want the lined paper, you're welcome to take them, as many as we've got. But, other than that, you can have them use, everything's available on the Gospel Library app. You can have them take notes there. You can have them cross-reference there, things like that. If you want to, there's a notebook journaling section in the Gospel Library app. You can also have them do that. Cool thing is that nowadays missionaries have their phones on their missions, and they can access all the notes that they ever took in seminary if we do it that way. So okay, that's kind of a plug for that. I do have some colored pencils. I will not be buying the little pamphlet or it's like accordion, that's the word I was looking for, the accordion pamphlet, because they haven't updated that either. So if they do, I'll buy it, but if they don't, I'm not going to bother because it's all outdated. Okay. So a couple of things I want to point out real quick. On the agenda, I wrote this out so you can follow this. There's a difference in the vernacular, and I want to make sure you guys understand this, between enrolling a student, between registering a student, and a parent filling out the parent agreement. So I want you to understand the differences. Parents log on to myseminary.churchofjesuschrist.org and click on register for their student or students. They click on the seminary building where their children will be attending. They confirm contact information, etc. This is repeated each year. Okay, so every year they need to go on and register their student for the next year of seminary. Okay. As part of that registration process, the parents must sign the parent agreement for their child, their student, to attend seminary. This is done once. If it is not completed by the end of that term, the student will be dropped from WISE. So please make sure that parents are filling out the parent agreement. Now, I totally get it. There are parents that you've tried all semester long to get them to sign it, and they absolutely won't or can't or just haven't gotten around to it. If that's the case, let me know. Well, there are ways around it, but we'd rather have them sign it. And so don't wait until the last day, please. Like within a couple months of seminary ending. Yes. Yes. So one time per 4-year seminary period, the parents need to sign the parent agreement for that student, but they need to register them every year. Now, I then enroll the students in your class. Okay. So that's the difference. I don't register them. Their parents register them. I enroll them. Does that make sense? Any questions about those terminology? We good? Okay. I will be sending out in an email in the not too distant future links to a video that explains to parents how to register their children. And you may feel free to pass that on to whichever parents you'd like to. I will also be forwarding some links to videos to help students know how to mark their reading, both on the desktop and on their mobile phones. So I'll be sending those out soon. So you can share those with students and parents. Okay. Yes, and we'll do that when we go through the tutorial here. Okay, so everybody on enough on Wise, we can go ahead. Anybody still having trouble other than over here? We're good? Okay. All right, now, yes,
You need another thing?
do we have another one?
I'll print more.
Okay, yes, please. Okay. Oh, okay, good. Okay. Awesome. Brother Anderson, when you get a chance, there's a couple of questions it looks like in the chat. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. So hot. I'm sorry. And they clicked off. I had to go and run around and turn them all on. Right? Okay. So here's the thing though, because of privacy and because we're recording this, I have slides that will show you kind of where we are, but all the personal information is crossed out, but you can follow along on your pages. I have done my absolute best to make sure all of your classes are at least available at this point. If there are students that need to be moved, we'll worry about that later. Right now, just kind of get an idea of what's happening. Okay. All right. So we're going to start by talking about, how do I get the, oh, there it is. Attendance. Okay. So on your screen, you're going to start with click on your class. You're going to see a summary screen. It's going to have all of your students listed. There we go. Does everybody see the summary screen? Okay. Right next to it, there's a tab that says attendance. So go ahead and click on attendance. And how do I get this to, let's see. Okay, can you read that now? Okay. On the attendance tab there, for every term, for every day of the term, mark attendance for your class. Please mark attendance in Wise daily. If you have a sheet that you have them fill out, that's fine. Please, please though, make sure at very least weekly, you are filling out attendance. This is really important because when students start to get to behind and they need to do makeup work, if you haven't been keeping Wise up to date, they have no idea how much makeup work they need to make up. This is especially important for those of you who teach seniors. Please make sure that you're keeping your attendance up to date at the very least weekly. It's super easy to do it daily. So if you can, that would be great. Choose the attendance marker on the right hand. I guess you can kind of see it here. On the right hand screen, there's a green box. You can click on that and it'll drop down and give you a choice of present, absent, made up attendance, tardy, made up tardy, all that kind of stuff. You can change it around, click, click, click. The nice thing is that if you have like 2 people absent, you can click on the 2 people that are absent and then change it back to present and click mark all attendance and it will change everybody else to present. So you don't have to go and click every single one. There is a new feature though. How do you make this? I don't know how to do this on your computer, Brother Anderson. Oh, there we go. An updated feature though is that if you're on a tablet like this, you can 2 fingers tap on the pad or right click on your mouse over someone's individual marker and it will give you a drop down menu that you can use to do each one individually. So that's kind of like it used to be in the old Wise, if any of you remember that. That feature is kind of back now and it's pretty handy. Any questions so far? Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Now, the way to know if you have gotten all of your attendance is on the left-hand side. There is a bar that moves up and down, shows you every single date for the term. If you have completed all of your attendance for the day, you'll see a green circle with a check mark in it. If you've completed some of it, let's say you went through and marked everybody there, but forgot to mark the people who were absent, it'll be a green circle with half green, half white. If you forgot to take attendance for a day, there's nothing there. Okay, it'll just be blank. So that way, if for some reason you're like having some trouble at the end of the term, closing your class or something, you can't figure out why, scroll up and look, maybe you have some attendance missing.
And if your state supervisor sends you an email and says, hey, will you finish your attendance? This is where you look to see which days you forgot something and it'll have it right there. You can
Right.
Just kind of scan through it.
Okay. Any other questions so far? There we go. Okay, so now, when you want to look at an individual student's attendance, click on their name and a box, like a pop-up box will appear, gives you quick access to the student's attendance, reading, and credit. You'll notice there are the 3 tabs across the top there. If a student brings you makeup work and it's for the classes missed during the current term, you can go and click on the absence. Click there and you can change it to made up absence. Okay, so if they bring you makeup work for something that happens this term, if they bring you makeup work from past terms, let me know. Yes, absolutely.
I know with my kids that they have the MySeminary and they can just put their own reading and stuff. Does
Uh-huh.
that show up on here?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Yeah, I'll come back to you in just a second about that. Okay, cool. All right. Again, the updated feature is that you can right click or double tap on the thing to change each one individually rather than going up and changing the marker and going back and forth. Okay, another cool updated feature is that they've added a next and previous students button at the top of the screen. So if you're going through your students, rather than clicking back, clicking on the next name, going back, clicking on the next name, you can just scroll through the students. Okay. Okay, messaging. How many of you have actually used messaging before? Okay, not very many hands. So this is a very cool feature because it allows you to contact parents and students in your classes without the problem of, okay, hold on, I want to backtrack a second. Everybody, please know you should never, ever, ever, did I say ever? Never, ever contact a student individually, okay? It I don't care what it is, like, hi, no, don't do that. Because that can get people in a lot of trouble. So please make sure that you are, if you're doing it as a group class or with a parent or something, but messaging is a fabulous way to do it because there's no problem with that whatsoever. So the messaging link is on the left, on the left-hand side, it's at the bottom of your screen. And you can click on that, messages come up, you can choose the category. I'll show you, the next screen shows that, but is everybody trying that? Everybody's clicked on messaging, right? You're all following along? Yes, I see it. Okay. So you can choose whether you're going to send the message to the students. You can choose whether you're sending it to the parents. You can individualize what you're going to say. You can, it'll go to the preferred messaging way that they want, whether it's email or text. Do you have something to add to that? Because you're standing
Yeah,
very close.
I'm just gonna emphasize this tool. I saw, how many hands said that they've used this before?
Oh, 2,
Okay,
3, 4. Okay.
I've used it, but I did not have success because the students don't have their information in there. The parents don't answer.
I would spend less time. This is a good way to reach out to students. If you're setting up your class and say, I need everybody to make sure that you're putting the correct contact information. I spent very little time trying to get the students in here. This is essential for parents and pre-student. Because you can do that. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed where I wasn't successful either. It's the same thing if they haven't updated their email account, they won't get.
Parents or youth?
Or for parents, like if they still have, some of our older ones where the church website doesn't work, they won't get it. And I've also had about a 50% success rate with text messaging as well.
So I probably didn't use text very often. I always probably did email just because that seems to have better success rate. This will cut down on your, how come nobody ever told me my student's not graduating this year? Because you will have a list of emails. I've actually emailed you once a week that your kid's missing stuff. This is a really easy way. Did anybody have issues with tardies? People coming late? Never, ever. If you do attendance right there when kids get into class, if you bring a laptop and you have that ability, you can actually send an email immediately of who's not there. It goes to the parents who's not there and says, your child is not in seminary today. They will start responding saying, no, Johnny was there today. And you're like, no, he was 15 minutes late. I changed it. He's present, but he was late. That is another way you get parents to realize, oh, they are taking attendance early. It's something that can help them change their behavior. There may be some training. I often had students write down, do you guys ever do student information sheets? Their name, if they've got contact information, their parents' contact information. It's good to just know, are they living with mom or dad if there's a, that kind of a situation. And then I'll go through my class and say, all right, I'm sending this email out. It'll actually show you the addresses. I know which ones aren't going through. I can actually reach out to Bishop and say, Bishop, parents' email's bad, and let them go chase it down. If this works, if this is like you've got everybody's proper contact information and you're sending emails out, they're getting them or they should be getting them, that cuts down on the how come nobody said anything to me. And you could say, I have been. Quit spamming me. Like, get it out of the spam folder.
So just to be clear, this message system only works for students who are actually registered and enrolled in your class with their parents. Because when I go on my potential list, I have 59 students there. It won't reach any of them.
Because they've not registered in.
No, this is only,
This doesn't work at the beginning of the year until parents get their kids in there.
Right. And those forms, as they fill them out, they're putting their most recent phone number and email address on those. And so there's an ability to pull that.
hold on a sec, let me address what you just said for a second. I can enroll as many students as you want in your class. I can enroll every single potential student.
Yeah, we just
This
go click the
parents
boxes.
still need to. No, but I'm saying, you could have 15 students in your class and only 5 of them are registered and you're just hunting down the, so I just want to make sure it's not just going to the ones that are registered, it's any that are enrolled in your class that we have updated, that we have the correct.
Like, you know who's enrolled.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Here's this information, is it what they're registering with? So say they have a number they need to add in the middle of the year, how do we update this?
So the updating will happen. In fact, we could help track that down. Because we will actually reach out and kind of help with that. The communication between parents and priesthood is usually where our breakdown is as seminary teachers. So whatever we can do to help you, if you get a good phone number or email address, we can make some of those changes. At its genesis, it comes out of LDS tools.
Yeah.
Okay, so if their LDS tools is up to date and they're registered, they can change it.
And we can change it in Wise. Pretty sure there's an edit. It should come through.
Yes.
Yep. But we can actually go into Wise, click edit, change that phone number and email so that it works. Okay.
So what you'll do is,
Jake, go ahead.
oh, sorry, my bad.
To restate the white line, I do group text messages with the entire class. Is that still okay, or are we discontinuing group text messages?
Because you are texting every single person in the class, that you should, and make sure that you don't click on, don't take it off of a group conversation. Sometimes you can do that. As long as it's a group conversation and everyone can see it, that is still within the safety zone, because you're not just talking to one individual student. If a student, texts you individually, you're like, I'm sorry, I can't, I need to respond in the group text or something like that. You just want to make sure that there's at least one other person involved in that, whether it's their parents or another student or something like that. Okay. Did that make sense at home? He just wanted to make sure that we could do group text, and that's okay as long as there's more than just one. Okay, so,
So does that mean-
oh, sorry, yes.
does that mean on why we can't go in and pick one student?
No, No, you can't, because
And
it's through
because
the
it's
state.
through Wise, that's okay.
Yeah,
Just say like this student.
Yep.
this is what you're missing.
Yep.
yes.
Because it's through the church's system. They have protections already in Wise. If you want to reach out directly to a student and they have their contact information, you do it through Wise, you are fine.
And by the way, that brings up, I'm gonna come back to your question about makeup, you know, what they've missed in a second, but I wanna point out something as well. Per policy, we should not be using things for keeping attendance like Google. Or any other, I'm trying to remember what's okay. But please make sure that you're not keeping student class lists and things like that on anything other than a church approved
Yeah, this
site.
is
You
just
do
information
not,
security.
yeah,
So if we have a student who needs to do makeup work for some reason, and we want to share with them the makeup work that we're assigning to them for that.
I would almost,
Do you do it through this?
I would 100% send it to parents
Through this?
through this. Or if you know them personally, whatever, you can,
Okay,
you
so
can
just say,
text the
hey,
parents.
this is Johnny's makeup
Yeah,
work
yeah.
for
okay.
2 days
Yep.
that he makes.
Except that, hold on, I'm gonna come back to that question in
Yeah.
just a minute. Okay, so on messaging, you can do a couple of different things. You can say who was absent on that date. You can say who was tardy on that date. You can say this person has this many absences. You can do your own custom email, however you want to do it, but that's available all on messaging. Okay, any questions on more messaging before we go into reading? Okay, the reading has changed. It used to be that they were having a daily, they had to record daily. Now they are given a specific block of chapters that they are required to read in order to receive credit. What you see on the screen, Acts 1 through 12, Romans 8, 1 Corinthians 13, Hebrews 11, 2 Timothy 3 is the only reading they are required to do for this next term. Okay, please encourage them to continue to read daily. Please encourage them to read the chapters they are going to be covering that week. Please encourage them to be reading the Book of Mormon. They can be reading, you know, other stuff, but this is the only required reading that they need to do during this term. So when they go onto MySeminary,
You presented these, yeah.
yeah, I was going to talk about that. So I printed out some little bookmarks. Because again, the church hasn't produced anything yet. But it has first and second term on it. So it has each of the individual chapters on here, plus the doctrinal mastery verses. So if you'd like to take some of these, I have, I don't know, probably about 120 here. There's also a little paper over there. If your classes start after the 12th of August, and I have time to print more, put that on there if we run out, and I'll be happy to get some to you. I just didn't know, I didn't want to overprint, and so. Because they can go on MySeminary and check this off themselves. They don't need to necessarily have a bookmark, but it's helpful, you know. So if you want them, go ahead and take them, but they can go on MySeminary. Their parents can go on MySeminary and see their students and check it out for them if they're having trouble. If you have a student that is consistently telling you that they cannot access MySeminary, please let me know, like tomorrow, not the last day of the term, okay? Let me know well in advance, because there are a few reasons why that might be happening, and we can kind of work that out. Sometimes we have to call Salt Lake and get 2 accidental accounts untangled, you know, but, or they put in their parents' email address instead of one of their own or something like that, right? So, but if they are having trouble, I say this all the time, but like, it amazes me that students can hack into pretty much any website on the planet except for MySeminary. But there's always somebody with a problem. But please let us know right as soon as you can so that we can take care of that. But they can go on there and check them off as soon as they're done. The parents can, if there's a legitimate reason, they're like living somewhere where they just don't have good internet or whatever, you can go on there. You see this. This is from your screen. Is everybody on your reading tab? Click on one of your students and you'll see the drop down come down. Okay. If they fall behind, and you'll start to see a little yellow triangle with an exclamation point. This means they're below the percentage based on the amount of time that we have in the term, kind of thing. So once they start checking it off, those triangles will disappear. Yes.
Since they're already in Acts, does they count if they read in the summer? Do they have to read these during the actual semester?
they have the entire Come Follow Me year to have read this. In fact, if your incoming freshmen have already read these chapters personally or with their families, they can check this off. Just because they haven't started seminary yet, that doesn't really matter.
If you have students with reading disabilities who have trouble, they can read with their families. They can listen to it on the Gospel Library app. You know, they just press the little microphone or earphone button and listen to it. However they need to do it. You know, help students who struggle with reading to accomplish this. So, okay. I think that was it. Okay, the assessment. The assessment needs to be given at the end of each term. Okay, it is open book, open family. It's meant to be a class discussion. So, the nice thing, this updated feature for the assessment now is that in the credit screen, it's now yes or a no. We don't have to try and figure out percentages based on how many questions they answered or anything. Did they take it? Great. Did they not? Okay. You know, so it's so much nicer that there's not a percentage or a grade involved in that. Okay. The assessments, by the way, are available at the end of the lesson manual. If you scrolled all the way down to the appendix, the study guides and the assessment are at the end of that.
It's also in your page account.
Oh, yes, thank you. It's already in the placing cover. Any questions about the assessment? Okay.
Laura,
Yes.
real quick, back to reading. I just noticed there's a little tiny arrow by the box I used by a student.
Mhm.
And if you click the arrow, it'll actually give you the drop down.
It lets you pick.
So you don't have to actually click on the student.
Isn't that
Yes.
great?
Yes.
That's like amazing.
Yes. Isn't that awesome? They're listening. They're doing it. They're
Yeah,
No one else
is
is
it just me?
excited. But someone who
Yeah.
actually do all the clicks.
okay.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna step up on a little tiny soapbox for a minute. I was on one of the seminary Facebook pages the other day, and people were like, "Oh, wise," and I was like, "Seriously, people?" And like, please, the people who produce this are trying desperately to keep up with President Nelson. He is changing the seminary left and right, and they are like scrambling to try and keep up and to make this the most user-friendly thing that they possibly can. For those of you who remember the old Wise, isn't this fantastic, right? I mean, there's been so many good changes. Please pray for the programmers when you have a chance. Rah Wise, please, because we just don't need the negativity, right? Right. Okay. So now to kind of go back to the questions that you guys had about makeup work, I'm going to show you a feature. At the very top of your screen, you see students, details, class sessions, and lessons. Everybody please click on the lessons tab. You will see a calendar.
Has anybody done this yet? Was it helpful to you? To have it all set up?
I never looked back at it.
Yeah, and then you don't have to. This
Okay.
serves a very different purpose.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you exactly why.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So what you can do is in the lessons tab, you can click on a day at a time. And you can see the arrows pointing there to the little calendars, a week at a time or a month at a time. You can autofill it, which puts it in basically lesson order, but you will you'll have to like figure out ways to fit in all of the extra lessons you want. But you click on the days that you want. So for example, I clicked on the 16, 17, 18, right? So at the bottom of the screen, scroll down a little bit now. So click on a date so you guys can see how it works.
Whatever
So
your
on
first day of school
Yeah,
is.
whatever your first day of school is, click on that and then scroll down. And you'll see that the date is on the scheduled day column. Okay. So whatever, and you don't have to stick to this, so don't like get too picky about it. But like say you're going to do acquiring spiritual knowledge part 1, scroll down until you find acquiring spiritual knowledge part 1, which is lesson number 8. Hold that, drag and drop it over onto that first day of your class. Anybody have any problems doing that?
Now, this-
Feedback, yes or no? Is it working? Oh, yeah, that's true. You can press the plus sign too and choose, yes. Okay, okay, cool. Now, the reason, now to do this for your entire term takes a lot of time and effort, but I guarantee you it is worth it, because when a student comes to you and says, what do I need to do to make up? You say, go to the MySeminary app. When a parent says, what is my child missing? Say, go to the MySeminary app. If you have added lessons into all of these days, in the MySeminary app, it will show the day that they missed and the class and the lesson that they missed. And so you don't have to try and keep track. You don't have to go back and figure out what lesson it was for that day. They can figure it out for yourself. So when they ask you to say, go to the app, go to the app, go to the app, right? So it does.
There's work product that they'd want to turn into you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. He asked how they can do makeup work. They can print it out and write on it. They can do it in the Gospel Library app and use the prompts to put journal stuff. Their parents can call you and say, I watched him do it. They finished it. However that works. Okay, any questions about lesson setup? I highly recommend it. Like I say, you can do it a week at a time. You could do it a month at a time. You could do it the whole term at a time. It's totally up to you. But I really encourage you to do it because it makes it so much easier to keep track at the end. Okay. Any other questions? All right, now quickly. There's an autofill tab somewhere. Oh, nobody close to me is on it. Are you on it? I think it's up in the right-hand corner at the top, I believe. Let me see the autofill tab. Sorry, I don't know. Help me out, brother. Anderson. Where is it?
It says auto created.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, last thing real quick. Transcripts. Click on a student that you want to, if you have a student that needs makeup work or to see past makeup work that a student needs to do, click on their name, and when their individual pop-up box appears, under their name, you're going to see view full profile. Okay. So if you have a student on your summary screen that has a little graduation cap with an X through it in yellow, that means that they have something in their past that was not completed that needs to be done in order for them to graduate. So if you have someone on that screen like that, click on that person's name and go to view full profile. Their full profile will come up with general information, their church membership, registration, and guardian record access. And then on the left-hand side, it says educational records. You're going to click on that. And you're going to get a list that says attendance, readings, credit, schedule. That's current. And then transcripts is what you want to click on.
Educational, what is it?
Educational records.
Oh.
Got it? Okay, cool. Awesome. And then scroll down to transcripts and click on that, and their entire seminary record will come up. You'll see all of the years. They get a half a credit per term. So if they're freshmen, by the end of the year, they should have 1 out of 4, sophomore 2 out of 4, etc. So if they're, if they have less than that, then it probably means they're missing something. Anything that they're missing will show up in red. You can see the red no's and the 0% and the 14% and everything like that. The acronym DTMU means days to make up. If you click on the individual line, it will show you, for example, this student had 14 days to make up in order to receive credit for the term. Okay, so that's where you can find that information. Cool thing is, past reading makeups, now they can use the new reading requirements. So if they didn't finish their reading for Old Testament or Book of Mormon or something like that, they can use the ones that are now. I have a couple of copies of that if you need it, that show what those reading requirements are. Past assessments you'll need to get from me. They don't have them online anymore. The online assessment is no longer available. And the paper ones are few and far between, so I've hoarded some if we need them. Okay. All right, any questions about the assessment or about transcripts? Yes.
How many assessments are there?
One for each semester. Yes, sorry.
So you'll do 2 a year.
Yeah.
In order to graduate seminary, they must complete 8 semesters of seminary, which is, it's just 2 a year, so it'll have 8 boxes. It'll Old Testament 1 and 2, D&C 1 and 2, Book 1 and 2. And it'll show you if they've got first semester, yes, second semester, no. It'll actually show they've got 3.5 credits.
Can they do a makeup assessment?
They can,
Oh, yeah,
they
absolutely.
can make up all of this if they're wanting to graduate seminary.
Yes. And actually, and I don't really tell students this until they're in the position for this. They actually have a year after they graduate from high school to complete, or until they're done with their mission, I think it is
And
now.
a year after high school or a year after the
Mission. To complete seminary and still get a
there's a
certificate.
hand over here.
Yes, and one over there.
So for the assessor learning, so in the semester, how are those ones who treat those like regular assessments?
You mean send them home and let them work on it with their family?
Or do it in class? I think that's. a lesson.
Are you talking makeup assessments? If they're makeup assessments.
No, there's assess your learning lessons.
Those are not graded. Those are not quizzes or tests. You're helping them assess the things that have been covered in previous weeks.
And then for makeup work, and take it to the home.
If that's what they miss, sure.
Right? Okay. So assess your learning or lessons within the manual and you can,
If they miss
Yeah.
every single assess your learning, they're still above 75%. They don't
Yeah.
even take those up.
okay, Sister Robbins, you had a question?
Can students see this as well, or only teachers?
On
They
the
should see it in my seminary.
yeah, in my seminary, they can see past, yep,
There's really no excuse.
right? Just make sure, if you have trouble getting on Wise, please let us know right away. If the parents have trouble getting on Wise, please let us know right away. If the students have trouble getting on Wise, let us know right away. Not Wise, I'm sorry, my seminary. If you guys Wise, them, my seminary, okay, let us know right away, because it really is this amazing tool to let them know where they stand, what needs to be made up.
Laura?
Is new here. So my seminary app and Wise, they're connected, right? They talk to each other. So our
Yes.
messaging goes to their app and stuff like that, vice versa, correct?
The messaging will go to their
Parents.
Email.
or phone number. That's
Yeah.
But as far as like if we're sending makeup stuff, it goes to their seminary app, let's see that?
It'll show on the My Seminary app, you've missed this day, this was the lesson, if you don't put a lesson in there, it says, please talk to your teacher, kind of thing. But it shows them every single day that they miss, it shows their percentage for reading,
So the
Their
stuff that
assessment,
she-
yeah.
the same stuff we see in Wise.
yes. Yeah, it goes from Wise to the platform of My Seminary.
We're gonna be running out of time, so let's,
I need to
Okay,
catch
so
that real quick.
let me do it really fast.
Are you gonna do it?
We're gonna let you do some stake breakouts. Let your stake supervisors take you aside, talk about stake specific things, if there are any. Before we end, up until this year, you have 2 budgets. I don't know if you know that. You've got a classroom materials budget and you've got a classroom activities budget. Okay? I don't know if you knew that. Your classroom activities budget is lame, and I'm sorry, but that's all they give us. It's something like $4.75 per student in your class per year.
So enroll everybody.
Enroll everybody.
Academic year.
Academic year. Which means if you are one that likes to provide food and stuff like that, I am never a fan of you guys incurring a debt for your call. I hate that. Stop it. I hate it. There are ways that you do this. You get funds from the wards and ask them for assistance, or you put it back on the parents. Stop buying their kids breakfast. Get their parents to help out. I'm sorry, but this should not cost you money. I will say that again. Stop. And part of it's filling out the reimbursement. That is a really great question.
Cause sure, cause, cuss. This is I wish I were the king of the world, I would make this easier for you. Yeah, sorry, you gotta do the thing. The other one is changing. The other one is the classroom materials, which was kind of a similar, I don't know, was it $50 a class? Is that kind of what it was before? And that was for materials, okay? That has changed.
Calm down.
It's gone down. We want you to do more with less. No,
Okay,
that's not what it
This
is.
Not a church-wide change. This is our region, okay?
She wants you to say that because she doesn't want you bragging on the Facebook page.
Please do not.
That we get more
broadcast
money,
this. This
okay?
is like a.
It's not a pilot. I hate that they keep saying that. It's not a pilot.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the new, this is for materials. So this is buying your little cubby boxes, or if you're trying to, if you want to buy paper, you want to buy whatever it is, this is materials for your class. This is what your new budget is. It is $25 per class per year, plus $5 per student in your class per year. So for some of you, if you have 20 kids in your class, some of you only have 5 in your class, it's gonna be $25 plus $25. So you'll get $50 to buy those cubbies, which is doable. For those of you who have like 20, okay, this could bump this up to about $125 for materials. So do a little bit of calculation that bumps it up a little bit. Okay. It's better than the $50 for most of you. Okay.
You still have to turn in a reimbursement.
Yeah.
though, in order to Be able to benefit. from it.
Yes, you still got to do your reimbursement.
And you still have to turn in a reimbursement. Save your receipt, save your, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, yes, question? Yes.
No.
You want to use materials for donuts? Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, can I be specific?
Your rule is if they are walking away with it in their bellies or in their hands, it's a classroom activities.
Yes. But if it stays in the classroom, it's classroom.
It's materials.
Yes.
I mean, if you're doing a flyer and they're walking out, don't get weird about that, but you understand what she means.
Yeah,
Okay.
that includes like ink, it includes paper, it includes the things. that
Yes.
we-
So Sister Malin asked on Zoom, does that mean, do we have budget for buying paper and for copy ink and stuff? Yes, yes. Use that budget for classroom materials for, if you're printing stuff at home, buy a thing of paper and use that just for seminary, right? Scriptures, if I am a big fan of you not purchasing scriptures for your students. If the bishop or stake president is buying scriptures for students, let that come out of their budgets. If it's not from the ward or stake, that is a parental responsibility. Now, obviously, if there's an issue and a family can't afford scriptures, that's a conversation to have. Come talk to us if you want to. We can get scriptures. I'm not buying 20 set of scriptures. But if you have a family that's in need, we'll totally do that. But I would also let that be an opportunity for bishop to serve and minister to that family. Okay. Scriptures aren't super expensive, but if you're buying 20 sets, they will be. Okay.
Okay, one more quick thing on that.
Yeah, hurry.
Okay, please feedback. Does this, they want to know, like, is this helpful? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Did it make you more apt to fill out a reimbursement request than it has in the past or something like that? And again, please do not broadcast this because this is just our region. They're trying this out to see how it works. So please do not be telling all the other seminary teachers how much. Okay, this is just a test. Thank you.
Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna give state super some time. We're probably gonna do it this way. We'll probably have North Stake stay in here, East Stake go in the classroom. West, should we draw the curtain? Should we do West Stake over here? West Stake in here and then Fresno Stake in the library. Okay, so North Stake at the tables, West Stake at the couches, East Stake in the classroom, Fresno Stake in the library. Okay, go ahead and split up. Hey, Stake Supers, when you're done, hey, Heidi, when you're done, say a prayer in your groups. You take as much time as you feel like their eyes are not glazed over. Joke's on you.
I couldn't get on the link.
Really? Okay.
Oh, well.
New teachers, we will be here after if you have questions and we need to walk and talk about stuff.
Hey, stake supervisors, can you please find someone to grab the Zoom call so that if there's anybody from your stake on Zoom, they can participate? Okay,
So you want me to keep the Zoom? I'm turning off Zoom, yeah? Yeah. Just make the phone call. Hey, guys, thanks for jumping on. Let us know if you have any questions.